and thank you for joining us. I just want you to think through what exactly did Allah of the Quran, who claims to be the same God of the Bible, actually want us to believe? Because Allah of the Quran in chapter 29, verse 46, He did say that He, the Allah of the Quran, and the God of the Bible is one and the same that the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims are worshipping. That is actually the crux of the matter. If Allah had said that He is a different God in the entirety, we would understand that we are not worshipping or referring to the same being. But because He made the claim that the Muslims are bowing down to one and the same God with the Christians and the Jews, and the God that the Muslims are bowing down, the right name for Him henceforth is called Allah, that is where the problem comes from. And that is our area of concern. Now, look at it. In the Bible, Jesus Christ is sent to be the Son of God, and He came and predicted about His coming, his crucifixion, His death, and resurrection. For instance, let's read together in Matthew, Luke, and even John, the Gospels, where it gives us the complete account of what happened to Jesus Christ when He was on earth and what He did by Himself, predicted that must happen to Him in order to complete the assignment which He came for, which is to forgive the sins of mankind by shedding His blood through the cross. Let's read together. Matthew chapter 17, verse 22 and 23, it said, "The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill Him, and on the third day He will be raised to life." You hear what I'm saying? On the third day He will be raised to life. We see in the same Matthew chapter 16, verse 21. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to His disciples that He must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things, and that He must be killed, and on the third day He will be raised to life. Now we see that, very importantly, the confirmation of both the crucifixion and the resurrection. In Luke chapter 9, verse 22, and Luke chapter 24, verse 6 to 7, rather, it said, "The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders." That's verse 22 of Luke 9. "The chief priest and the teachers of the law, and He must be killed, and on the third day He will be raised to life." And the last verse of Luke chapter 24, verse 6, 7, it said, "He is not here," confirming the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It said, "Remember how He had told you while He was alive with you in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners and must be crucified, and on the third day He will be raised again." Now, this is account of what Jesus both predicted about His death, crucifixion, and resurrection. That is what we have in the Bible, and thus we are the teachings of Jesus by Himself in the Bible. Now, we see the God of the Quran, otherwise called Allah, is busy claiming to have been the one who sent Jesus to mankind or to the earth to come and do the accomplished, supposedly. So we don't have problem with Allah claiming to have sent Jesus. But what we have problem with is that if the message of Allah is consistent with Jesus' teaching, then we would not have problem. But if we find inconsistency and some claims that are so disturbing, then we will be called to worry. It called for worried. And that is our concern. Now, look at this chapter of the Quran, chapter 4, verse 157 and 158. Allah is busy saying here that Jesus Christ never died, was never crucified, and He only took Jesus unto Himself alive, as He did not allow the Jews and the Roman soldiers to kill Jesus. But this is what Allah had earlier on asked Jesus, if Allah was actually the one that sent Jesus, he had earlier on asked Jesus to preach and to teach about his both crucifixion, death, and resurrection. And Jesus did teach by himself. Supposedly, the message come from Allah. But Allah later on, in about 500 or to 600 years after Christ, he now come and say through Muhammad that actually Jesus didn't die. Jesus was not crucified. Jesus was only taken up by himself unto himself. Now the question is, what should we believe? Why is Allah confusing us? Why is Allah saying one thing here and later on changing one thing? We are not worried, like I said, because if Allah had not claimed that he and the God of the Bible are the same, then we would not be worried. But because he made that claim, that draws our attention closer in wanting to query some of the actions, some of the things that Allah had taught previously through prophet, through Moses, and through Jesus himself. And then now he's changing it and he's saying something opposing and different with and through Muhammad. What should we believe? Do you still believe that Allah and God of the Bible is the same, like the Quran did claim, or from the character and from the sayings and the speakings of Allah, you have now realized that it's a complete different being and who appear to be an imposter of the God of the Bible and probably a liar who is lying in the name of God to deceive people? What do you think? What do you understand? Please drop your opinion on the comment section. It is important for us to keep revealing this to get you understanding much more better. Thank you very much. Till we meet again in the second episode.